Greetings. My name is Jameelah Morris, and this reflection is titled Drifting in the Middle, a reflection on forgetting and time in MAP. The story of her forgetting begins with her escape to a 6 by 8 foot back room filled with papers. Every afternoon after lunch, my grandmother would scurry upstairs into this back room to do what she called organizing. Even as this was where silence and stillness found her, she was consumed by something unnameable. So much so that she retreated there daily with an urgency of finishing that which she never would. For at least 7 years, she spent hours every day held by old report cards, land deeds, scribbles of feedback about the pastor's sermon, which she would write on church pamphlets, news articles of over 3 decades of Trinidadian presidential elections. This spanned decades and multiple journeys of our lives and hers. I joined her one evening, intent on understanding why, after 7 years of this daily activity, she had not finished organizing. Not realizing she had organized the day before, she would pace back and forth each following day in that back room, reassembling those papers over and over again. She would always first put them in stacks according to subjects, then by year, and would stop, decide to continue tomorrow, only to disassemble the organizing and begin again. Perhaps she kept forgetting her own organizing system, or perhaps those papers refused any order at all. I will never know. But every day, the loop of that escape to which she kept running, but in which she could never complete her stay, played continuously as she struggled to remember what she could not remember. As in Brand's A Map to the Door of No Return, forgetting was only one of several temporal modalities in and through which she lived the last years of her life. MAP actually came to me as a gift that, whether the gift giver knew it or not, found me at a very particular moment in my life. I had been writing a story to process my experience of my grandmother's Alzheimer's. I wasn't writing to make beautiful her clinically diagnosed memory loss, nor to navel gaze and self-consolation. Rather, I wrote about the way in which I saw her experience time, that, like a map, as Brand writes, revealed, quote, a forgotten list of irretrievable selves, unquote. After having left her home of 50 years to receive full-time care, my grandmother would set up each morning and stand by the door. Ready to go back, she would say. The destination of that going back changed each and every morning. To go file papers in the room of her Southeast DC home of 5 decades, to go and take food to the market from her childhood home in Providence, Tobago, to go feed the kids at her home in Port of Spain. Sometimes it was simply just ready to go back with no destination that could possibly be named. If, as Brand writes, the door of no return is a passport from a territory so vast, quote, we are always in the middle of the journey, unquote, I wondered about the time of being always in the middle of that journey. Frustrated by our request for presence here and now, my grandmother demanded a going that never really sounded only like a place, but sounded also like a time. Each morning's encounter marked a time my grandmother drifted in, through, and out of. Taking seriously both Brand's conception that we, quote, have no such immediate sense of belonging, only of drift, unquote, and the register of drift as a continuous slow movement from one place to another, I wanted to name how I experienced my grandmother's Alzheimer's as memory and drift, rather than the memory loss she was clinically diagnosed with. I recall the old man with Alzheimer's disease that Brand describes. He does not realize he is in his new home. He paces back and forth, holding his belongings with a readiness for his daughter, who can no longer care for him, to take him home. These entanglements of memory and forgetting mark not only a register of drift, as marking a sort of unbelonging, but also a temporal suspension between a destination one never quite arrives at and back from which one may never return. As Brand writes, quote, there is the sense in the mind of not being here or there, of no way out or in, unquote, that we in the diaspora live somewhere in between the forgotten time of departure and the unknown and unknowable time of arrival. But it was not just forgetting nor drifting that marked the temporal modalities of my grandmother's final years. It was also the residue of intensified condensation of the past dripping into the present at any moment. 8 decades of living, of migrations, of captivity, of funerals, of labor, of care, so often seem to crash into her at once, the intensification of which managed to condense those 8 decades into 2 minutes of speech, of running, and of stillness that were illegible to us, but contemporaneous for her. Our temporal schemas failed to make sense of her memory and drift, failing to make legible all those things that never left her, all those things that made all of time the now. I lead with this autobiographical reflection of my experience journeying alongside my grandmother's Alzheimer's, not only to name how Map found me, but because of Brand's own turn to autobiographical notes, such as conversations with her grandfather, that provides an entry point into naming the ruptures the door inaugurates. These conversations open the text. Brand describes her and her grandfather's mutual disappointment of not remembering what people they come from that revealed a, quote, tear in the world, unquote, a rupture, quote, greater than the need for familiar bonds. It was a rupture in history, a rupture in the quality of being. It was also a physical rupture, a rupture in geography, unquote. But I want to add that this list of ruptures names also a rupture of time, revealing the fissure between the past and the present that, as she writes, is represented in the door of no return. The conversations also close the text. Brand writes of her grandfather's forgetting of origins as having been passed down to him, especially by the one who stepped through the door as a gift. I would like to suggest that as much as the door inaugurates a rupture in belonging, Map names how the door disorients normative logics of time as a dimension of Black psychic life that people share in. This door's orientation is not only represented in the dynamics of forgetting, but of drift, and of the text's own wayfinding, not only through geographic locations, but also through different periods of time. Thinking again, drift and its possible temporal registers alongside the intergenerational exchanges of forgetting, revealing a tear in the world, alongside the old man with Alzheimer's pacing back and forth to return home. I think that Map gestures towards a certain set of questions about how we might begin to understand the temporal modalities through which Black life is lived in the wake of the door. These questions at least begin with, what is the time of the door? What temporal schema fully captures the door? Can we locate its precise beginning, end, or even its middle? And what, if anything, lives on from the door? Do these ruptures the door inaugurates have a possible end? So how do I land a reflection drifting through its own working out of Map's temporal grammars? This reflection, rather than an analytical offering, is my attempt to bridge the autobiographical with the theoretical as the only way to write the impact that this 20-year gift, gifted to me only 8 years ago, has had on my life and thinking. This text sat next to me and my grandmother during the last conversation we were able to have. She started talking about the ocean. She sounded out the waves she heard crash while standing on a hill in Lambeau, Tobago, while tapping her feet as if she were splashing at the ocean shore. I asked her if she enjoyed swimming in it as a child. She corrected me as a single tear fell from her eye, quote, not in, but through, unquote. These threshold of the ocean, the threshold of the door. So as you pass through it, you are not going in one direction or in one straight time. You are instead floating, forgetting, drifting, held by the intensification of the compressed time held within its waters. Caught between the no beginning and no end, as Brand writes, quote, our inheritance in the diaspora is to live in this inexplicable space, unquote, the time of which we are left to sense and drift. Thank you.